The 2023 NBA Draft Lottery wrapped up a few days ago, with the Spurs winning the #1 pick in a historically good draft class. The Blazers jumped up to 3 and the Pistons fell all the way to 5. And overall, I think it'll be a very interesting draft with potentially a few trades, but I'll leave that for another video. Yo, what's going on, yo? I'm JBHOOPS, and today I put together a post-lottery mock draft with the full first round, so picks 1 through 30. The picks are just my opinion. Leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. But anyway, let's just get right into it. With the first pick in the 2023 NBA draft, I have the Spurs selecting the 7'5" big man out of France, Victor Wembanyama. Victor is the obvious pick at 1, so not much needs to be said. Wembanyama is a generational prospect with the physical tools and skill set to become one of the all-time greats. The Spurs got their guy. He's going to be incredible, following in the footsteps of former Spurs #1 picks in David Robinson and Tim Duncan. The Spurs have some nice pieces to complement him. If he's still the coach, Pop will experiment a ton with him, which is all you can ask for. And Victor Wembanyama and the Spurs will be must-watch TV. With the second pick in the draft, I have the Hornets going with Scoot Henderson, the 6'3" guard out of the G League Ignite. Scoot is a phenomenal prospect who would be the #1 pick in the majority of classes. There should be absolutely no debate around who Charlotte should pick at 2, Scoot is that guy. He complements LaMelo well with his rim pressure and outstanding playmaking ability, whilst Melo is a special shooter and I really like what he can do off the ball. Scoot Henderson is ready for the league. I'm 100% confident in his abilities, and I think him and LaMelo could quickly form one of the best and most exciting backcourts in the league. So I have the Hornets taking Scoot Henderson second overall. The Blazers are up at 3 and I have them going with Brandon Miller, the 6'9" freshman out of Alabama. I'm gonna be honest, this is a little high for me. I think I have Miller at about 6th on my board, but I'm just really unsure of what to think of the Blazers situation. If they are moving on from Dame, Thompson is the obvious pick in my opinion, but if they are still committed to winning with him, I think Brandon Miller has the best chance of helping them compete early on. Although trading the pick for like a Pascal Siakam or Karl Anthony Towns is probably also on their mind. But Miller is still a great prospect who can really shoot it, handle, play solid defense and pass at 6'9". But this is just a really awkward spot to project, as it will really determine how the rest of the lottery goes. But for now, I have the Blazers taking Brandon Miller at 3. With the 4th pick in the draft, I have the Rockets selecting Thompson, the 6'7" guard out of the Overtime Elite. I absolutely love the Rockets as a landing spot for and I don't think Rockets fans should be too upset about ending up with pick 4. Thompson and Jalen Green together will instantly create one of the most athletic duos of all time. Is the best playmaker in the draft, has amazing potential on the defensive end, and is an incredible finisher. He does have a lot of work to do on his jumper, so Houston need to sort out an elite shooting coach, but overall I really like the fit. Will make everything run so much smoother in Houston and create great looks for all of his teammates, and he's definitely one of my favourite prospects of all time, so I have the Rockets selecting Thompson at 4. Now this is where it gets really interesting. The Pistons unfortunately fell to 5, but there's still a ton of elite talent available. But in this one, I have them banking on Cam Whitmore's star upside. The 6'7" Villanova freshman is an incredibly explosive athlete with a huge frame at just 18 years old. He'll be a monster in transition with Ivy and Cade and help him out defensively on the wings. Cam has drastically improved as a shooter and will be phenomenal off the ball, attacking closeouts, cutting and draining catch and shoot threes. So I really love his fit in Detroit, and it's definitely not the end of the world that they fell to 5. The Magic are on the clock at 6 and I have them going with Ausar Thompson, the 6'7" wing out of the Overtime Elite. Ausar Thompson is not only another elite athlete in this class, he's also one of the best defensive prospects. He moves extremely well at 6'7", can stick to guards, navigate screens, and has a 7-foot wingspan and excellent instincts as a rim protector, so really has the tools to defend 1 through 4. Ausar can handle, facilitate, create for himself, and is rapidly improving as a shooter. And with Franz and Paolo taking on a lot of the load, I don't think the Magic really need a traditional point guard, so they have the ability to run multiple jumbo wings who can do a bit of everything, and collectively share the creation duties. So I really love Ausar's fit on the Magic, and have them taking him at 6. At 7, I have the Pacers selecting Jarace Walker, the 6'8" freshman out of Houston. Jarace Walker to the Pacers is one of my favourite fits in the draft. He's a top tier defensive prospect with good foot speed, technique and a 7'3" wingspan. Jarace can pass, attack closeouts, play in the pick and roll and shoot it from deep. And I think he's capable of doing a lot more with the ball given his touch, strength and solid handle. So I think he fits in perfectly with their lineup and think he should be the Pacers guy at 7. With the 8th pick in the draft, I have the Wizards going with Cason Wallace, the 6'4 freshman out of Kentucky. Cason Wallace is just a great basketball player. He does everything well and is always making the right play. He's a special defensive prospect, one of the best defending guards of the last decade, can play on or off the ball, and should fit in really nicely with the Wizards' core. The Wizards need a lot of things to happen for them to be good, but I think drafting Cason Wallace at 8 is a great start. The Jazz are on the board at 9, and I have them going with the 6'4 freshman out of Baylor, Keyonte George. I'm really high on Keyonte George and think the Jazz will be a great landing spot for him. He's an elite shooter with a ton of versatility, can handle, and whilst he was very inconsistent, I like what he can do as a passer and defensively at the point of attack. The Jazz have a lot of nice pieces, but not too many I'm confident will stick around. So Keyonte would be a great pick and thrive in an offense where he's empowered to play his game and get better. So I have the Jazz taking Keyonte George at 9. The Mavs are up at 10, and I have them going with Taylor Hendricks, the 6'9 freshman out of UCF. Taylor Hendricks to the Mavs just makes sense, and I don't see them passing on him if he's still available. He's one of the best 3-and-D guys in the class at 6'9 with a 7'1 wingspan, and should fit in perfectly as the 4 in the Mavs lineup, playing off of Luka, Kyrie if he resigns, and developing alongside Josh Green and Jaden Hardy. So I have the Mavs taking Taylor Hendricks at 10. With their second lottery pick via the Bulls, the Magic could go in a lot of different directions, but I have them taking one of the best shooters, specifically movement shooters in the draft, 6'8 Michigan freshman Jett Howard. Jett can create off the dribble a bit, is deadly off handoffs, and would fit in perfectly with the Magic core and Ausar, giving them that knockdown shooter they desperately need. He has to improve defensively and as a finisher, but I'm confident he'll be able to help a team straight away with his shooting versatility, so I have the Magic taking Jett Howard at 11. The Thunder are on the clock at 12, and I have them going with Gigi Jackson II, the 6'9 freshman out of South Carolina. There are definitely some other guys the Thunder could go with that fit their immediate needs of shooting and defense, but in this one I have them taking a swing on Jackson's star upside. Gigi probably had the worst context of any prospect as the youngest guy in the class, but was able to show his unreal handle and shot creation upside at 6'9, his solid 3-point shooting and off-ball smarts. He may not play big minutes right away, but I'm really high on him on both ends, and in the development system like OKC's, he might look like a steal in a few years. So I have the Thunder taking Gigi Jackson II at 12. At 13, I have the Raptors taking Kobe Buffkin, the 6'5 sophomore out of Michigan. I'm a big fan of the Raptors as a landing spot for Kobe. He's an excellent driver and finisher, comfortable handling and creating for himself and for his teammates, makes an impact defensively, and he's continuously improved as a shooter. I do think the Raptors will look to trade and move on from a few guys this offseason, and they could really use a lead guard who can consistently beat his man off the dribble and force defenses into rotation to create easier looks, as that's something they've lacked for years now. So I have the Raptors taking Kobe Buffkin with the 13th pick. Rounding off the lotto with the 14th pick, I have the Pelicans taking Dariq Whitehead, the 6'7 freshman out of Duke. Whitehead is a very tough prospect to evaluate as he struggled with a foot injury for most of the season, which he ended up having to have a second surgery on, which will hopefully help him regain his burst and explosion. But he's become a phenomenal shooter and still showed flashes of what he can do off the dribble. He was also sound defensively with his technique and instincts, but I think Dariq is capable of a lot more, and if healthy could be a steal this low. The Pelicans have a nice team with a plethora of young pieces, but I really like Dariq Whitehead's long-term fit as a versatile 3-and-D wing with some largely untapped creation juice. So I have the Pelicans taking Dariq Whitehead at 14. At 15, I have the Hawks going with Brice SENSABAUGH, the 6'6 Ohio State freshman. Brice is an absolute bucket and one of the best shooters and shot makers in the class. He's excellent in the mid-range and his bag of counters and ability to get to his spots is crazy. And I think he'd really help out the Hawks on the wings, giving them another reliable shooter and shot maker. He has some work to do defensively, but I think he's just far too talented to let fall further. So I have the Hawks taking Brice at 15. The Jazz are back on the clock at 16 with the pick from the Timberwolves, and I have them going with Anthony Black, the 6'7 freshman out of Arkansas. Anthony Black realistically won't fall this low. The consensus is a bit higher on him than I personally am. I'm just a little unsure of how his game translates with his poor touch and shooting and half-court limitations, but I think the Jazz would be an ideal landing spot for him as he'd be able to put the ball in his hands, free him up with screens, and allow him to get downhill and maximize his playmaking talents. I also think he'll be great on the defensive end, so if the Jazz could get Keyonte George and Anthony Black with their 2 picks regardless of order, that would be an extremely fun team. At 17, I have the Lakers taking Grady Dick, the 6'7 wing out of Kansas. Grady Dick is another guy who will likely be in the lottery, but I just have a few guys I prefer over him. He's arguably the best shooter in the class. He's also a great connector and a very solid team defender, and will very likely be a starter right away for whoever drafts him. And I love his fit in LA, playing off of Bron and AD, running the floor and just making winning plays. So I have the Lakers going with Grady Dick at 17. I have the Heat taking Nick Smith Jr. at 18. The 6'5 freshman out of Arkansas had a pretty rough season, struggling with injury and overall was very inconsistent, but he's a super talented scorer with great touch and could be a nice addition for the Heat with Kyle Lowry getting up there and Tyler Hero's future not 100% certain. The Heat would probably be one of the best fits for him, where he can be surrounded by good defenders and able to play to his strengths, so I have the Heat taking Nick Smith Jr. at 18. The Warriors are up at 19 and I have them taking Leonard Miller, the 6'10 forward out of the G League Ignite. Leonard Miller had a super productive season for the Ignite playing against pros, improving in almost every area of his game. He's huge, super mobile and has great touch, and whilst his jumper needs to be reworked and he's not a very good defender at the moment, I'm sure he can make an impact. The Warriors could definitely go with the center here or trade the pick if they're still trying to win, but I love Leonard Miller's upside and think he'd be a great pickup for them at 19. The Rockets are up again at 20 with the Clippers pick and I have them taking Derek Lively II, the 7'1 freshman out of Duke. This pick would be a dream scenario for the Rockets. I'm not sure Lively falls this far as there's a lot of teams who could use his skill set, but he would instantly become one of the better defensive bigs in the league with his size, rim protection and mobility, and he'd help offset some of Sengun's weaknesses. He'll have to contribute more offensively, but I think with Jalen Green, Thompson and the Rockets guards, he should be able to get a lot of easy dunks and putbacks, and eventually we could see him expand his offensive game and show a little more of what he did pre-college. I really love his fit on the Rockets, so I have them taking him at 20. The Nets are up at 21 with the Suns pick, and I have them taking Maxwell Lewis. Max Lewis struggled a bit in conference play, but his combination of athleticism, shooting versatility, and self-creation upside still holds him in a lot of conversations, and he would be a great high upside pickup for the Nets at 21. He has great size at 6'7 with a 7-foot wingspan, can handle, pass, and score, and although he'll have to improve defensively, the Nets could be the perfect spot for him to grow, and I really believe Max Lewis has star potential. And I have them going with another raw, toolsy, high upside wing in Bilal Coulibaly. He's been great alongside Wemby for the Mets 92. He's one of the top wing defenders in the class, a great athlete and a really impressive driver. The Nets don't have too many key pieces, so I think they should just swing for the best prospect and highest upside available, and in my opinion that is Bilal Coulibaly. With the 23rd pick via New York, I have the Blazers taking Noah Clowney, the 6'10 freshman out of Alabama. The Blazers have lacked defenders for years now, and Clowney has awesome tools and instincts. He moves well, can play the 4 or the 5, shoot it from deep and put the ball on the floor. So I really like what he can do on both ends, and whilst he is a little raw and is more of a pre-draft candidate, I believe he'd be a great piece in the post-Dame era in Portland, which I hope is sooner rather than later. But for now, I have the Blazers taking Noah Clowney at 23. With the 24th pick, I have the Kings drafting Jordan Walsh, the 6'7 freshman out of Arkansas. The Kings are a really fun team, but from the regular season and playoffs, it's clear that they're in dire need of good defenders, and Jordan Walsh is great and has the potential to be a lead on that end. He has a 7'2 wingspan, great instincts and technique, and will be able to take tough wing assignments from day one. His offense will have to improve for him to stay on the floor, but I liked his game in high school, and he'll be able to attack closeouts, cut, run the floor, and hit open threes. So I really like him for a team like the Kings needing a defensive wing in the late first round. Next up at 25, I have the Grizzlies taking Sidy Cissoko, the 6'7 wing out of the G League Ignite. Sidy Cissoko could also make an impact for the Grizzlies on the defensive end, but also with his strength, athleticism, and passing ability on the offensive end. He is very raw but played against pros, and with Dylan Brooks' departure, I really like his fit for the Grizz, who just continue to stack impactful young guys. So I have the Grizzlies taking Sidy Cissoko at 25. The Pacers are up at 26 with the Cavs pick, and I have them going with Jordan Hawkins. The 6'5 wing is one of the best shooters in the draft and a problem off movement. He's solid defensively, had moments as a passer, and threw down some nice dunks. And although I think the lotto hype is a bit much, I think he could be a great 4th or 5th starter. The Pacers might also look to move on from Buddy Hield, so drafting Jordan Hawkins into that role at 26 makes sense. The Hornets scoop up Colby Jones at 28. The 6'6 junior out of Xavier is a skilled wing who does a bit of everything and will quickly contribute to winning. The Hornets should surround Scoot and LaMelo with high field guys who can shoot and defend multiple positions, and Colby Jones can do that and more, and I think he would be a great pickup for them at 27. The Jazz are back on the clock at 28 with the Sixers pick, and I have them going with Olivier Maxence Prosper, the 6'8 junior out of Marquette. Max Prosper has been one of my biggest risers since March. He's got great size and length, a solid handle, can shoot the 3 and defend multiple positions, and he's also an excellent cutter. He's just a super versatile player, and could be a Swiss Army knife type guy for the Jazz, so I have them taking Max Prosper at 28. The Pacers are back on the clock with their 3rd pick via Boston, and I have them taking Emoni Bates, the 6'9 sophomore out of Eastern Michigan. Emoni Bates is super polarizing, but I've always been high on him. He's a ridiculous shooter and shot maker, and I actually think he's pretty underrated as a passer and help defender. He'll have to put on some size, lock in defensively, and reel in the wild shots, but a team like the Pacers can definitely afford to take a swing on him in the late 1st or early 2nd round, so I have the Pacers taking Emoni Bates at 29. The Clippers are up at 30 with the final pick in the 1st round via the Bucks, and I have them drafting Jalen HOOD-SCHIFINO, the 6'5 freshman out of Indiana. I'm not as high as most on JHS, but the pick and roll craft, shot making and size are very good, and he has good tools. He is quite streaky, but when he's on he looks like a star, and I definitely still think he could be a starting caliber guard, which is exactly what the Clippers could use with their aging core, so I have them taking Jalen HOOD-SCHIFINO at 30. Alright, that's all I got for this one. Let me know what you think down below in the comments. I'll make sure to reply. This draft could go a lot of different ways, so it's going to be very fun to see what happens. If you watched the whole video, I really appreciate it. Leave a like and subscribe for more. I'll have my Amen Thompson breakdown and top 10 wings video up soon, and my big board 4.0 next week, so stay tuned. Anyway, that's all I got. JBHOOPS, out.